1,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power. We are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers. We are melanated ones.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, I am Shenelle Felix, and you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have to get your morning started and ask those questions that you want asked. Now, this morning, we're going to start off by having a conversation on a topic that has been circulating in this page for a while. And that topic is special needs education and inclusive education. Now, as you know, very recently, we celebrated World Down Syndrome Awareness Day, and we saw a number of persons coming out with their socks and, just demonstrating their solidarity with that community. And with that came a number of conversations surrounding special needs, inclusion, and the need for special needs education and training here on the island of Tobago, and just all around improving the education sector where special needs education is concerned. Conversations surrounding improving the curriculum and just more activities that are inclusive towards those members of that community. And this morning, we're going to go a bit further with that conversation as we speak with the very young, energetic, and passionate Mrs. Amryl Reuben, and she is a UK-trained special needs practitioner, but she is also a Tobagonian, but she also functions in the UK. But you also have a lot of involvement, community-based engagement projects that you do here on the island of Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, from time to time. But this morning, we're talking about special needs education specifically. Now, tell us a little bit about what you do in your profession, and tell Tobagonians a bit about who you are, because you probably have a lot of Tobagonians. I know that face from somewhere.
Yes. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Tobago Updates. Good morning, Shenelle. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm Amryl Reuben. A lot of you might have known me as Amryl Arthur. Come through Tobago, come through Bishops, and worked in tourism for a little while, then went abroad. Been teaching in the UK for over 20 years. And a few years ago, I was led to start looking at the special needs area. I'm currently the director of education and training in our own business, my husband and myself, Reuben PS, professional services. And prior to that, up to July last year, 2022, I was the assistant head teacher at an independent school in charge of special needs. And in the UK, it's an area we take very, very seriously. Apart from being trained as a teacher, you have to be master's level trained. And so that's the background that I'm coming from at present. So I've been in this area for the past 5 or 6 years. Apart from being a teacher, a lot of teachers do practice strategies, but they might not be sure that that's what they're doing. And the reason I'm here coming to Tobago, one is because I want to give back. But also, I've heard stories. I've been contacted about, how my child could be helped, etc. And there are so many strategies out there in the space that we use on an everyday basis. I thought perhaps I could share some of those and give some training or do whatever is necessary from in my little bit to help Tobago. Most importantly, to help these children and young people to achieve the potential that I know that they're capable of.
Excellent. And one of the conversations that has been coming up a lot where special needs and inclusive education is concerned here on the island, that has been raised by a number of organizations, especially in recent time, is the need for broader inclusion in mainstream education and mainstream schools to include younger persons who really are a part of that special needs category, whether it be autistic, ADHD, or Down syndrome. Tell us a bit about how the UK model functions in regards to integrating these special needs kids into mainstream education, and what are some strategies that we might be able to implement to get there, because we're a bit far off from there. Although the right of a child still exists to have that educational access, still we have not yet found the right way to integrate them into that system. So tell us a bit about that.
Certainly. Well, you would note one of the main reasons I'm here today as well is because tomorrow I've put on a special needs seminar at the Scarborough Central Library in the auditorium, just to take that conversation out a little bit further, just to share some of those strategies, both with parents, both with educators and other practitioners. I mean, we have people who are pediatricians, etc., who have already engaged and registered. And inclusion, not exclusion, is the title of it. It's a way that we want to encourage Tobago, the wider Caribbean, to look at our children with additional needs. That neurodiversity is nothing new, but we are in the UK. We pay very particular attention to them, to our children and young people who have special needs, who have those additional needs, not to be ostracized, but to remove those barriers to their learning, to help them to achieve potential, to help them to be all that they can be. So, for example, unless a child or a young person has very complex needs, and it may be multiple complex needs, unless they have that, they are in the normal mainstream schools. So teachers are trained. So my role as we call it a SENCO, Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Coordinator in the school, as a senior leader in the school, is to train teachers, to support teachers, to share strategies with teachers, to communicate with parents, because they're a big part. We must work together. And I think one of the areas I really focus on is integrating and supporting. Already these parents struggle. So we are supposed to be there to help them to pull things together and to make things easier, not to make things harder.
Right, and so this special needs education seminar titled Inclusion, Not Exclusion, being held at the Scarborough Library tomorrow, and that's from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Now, tell me, what are you looking forward to as being the outcome of this event? Well, what are you really looking forward to, and do you think that this one seminar can accomplish that?
Definitely not. One seminar is not going to accomplish it, but it's the start. It's the start of a changing of a mindset. It's about mindset shifting. It's about parents, teachers, all of us coming together and saying that these children can achieve, and what can we do as a network of people. And I think one of the big issues is always money. You know, well, you all might do it like that in England, and we don't do that here. But the thing is, if we can empower teachers to feel confident enough to deploy strategies in the classroom that will cause a child with special needs to feel included, they have the same friends, they might not go as fast as the others, but there are some very simple strategies that can be put in place. Even some basic strategies, for example, one of them is chunking. There are some resources that can be used. We call them reasonable adjustments. It would not hurt anybody to give these children this kind of things. However, it goes out of our way a little bit, a teeny little bit. But if it would help them to go further, I think that's something. So that conversation, sharing those strategies, perhaps helping those parents to have strategies that they can go away with and try. I do say, though, that there's no one size fits all. And then perhaps, hopefully, policy in the end. That's the long-term goal.
Okay, excellent. And so talk to us about the next steps after this seminar.
Yeah.
What can we see happening after tomorrow's seminar at the library?
So next steps, I'm hoping to be able to appeal to the THA, appeal to the powers that be to put on more training, get training program in the schools. It's just, we train for everything else. You know, just providing that support for teachers. Also, I want to rally, a lot of it for me is about advocacy for those who cannot advocate for themselves. And these children at this point might not be able to, these young people, the parents, some of them don't have the wherewithal. So to be able to do some type of networking on the ground, whether it's via internet. I mean, I've had calls from Trinidad and Barbados, and Tobago is the first. I must say, Tobago is the first to receive this. So I really want to push forward to develop those networks and to encourage the powers that be to do more, because these children and young people are part of the local populace.
Excellent. And so would we be seeing a number of educators coming out to this seminar tomorrow? What about members of the Division of Education?
Absolutely. So far, the Division of Education, when I was asked how many people I think would come for the room at the library, I said 30 to 50. Already I have almost 50, and that is very encouraging. The Department of Education, Division of Education, have registered at least 10 people that under their umbrella. Other people might have come in. What I've asked people to do when they're registering, say whether they're a parent, educator, or other interested person. We have quite a few educators, both from special schools and mainstream schools as well as parents, as I said, pediatricians, social workers. So I'm really encouraged at the interest so far. It says a lot that awareness is increasing, and that's a good start.
Excellent. And hopefully you will be able to actually go into the schools and have those conversations on a larger scale with principals and teachers and even with students, because in order to really integrate those students into the mainstream system, there is a level of culture that has to shift in order to accommodate them.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about that culture shift and how does one begin to work on changing attitudes towards the integration of special needs children into the education system?
Yeah. Culture shift and paradigm shift, and we know Tobago is cultural, quite by and large. In the school, one of the things I would say is that increased awareness. However, I realize what's happening though is by force, we are forced in every community now. There are more children with special needs, so we can't ignore it. It's not an issue that we can ignore. These are not children we can lock away anymore, or not feel ashamed of, and that should not be the case. These are children with neurodiversity. They have needs that are just additional or different to others, and that's all it is. And so we need to put that support in. So it's just pushing that message out there and also encouraging the other young people in the schools to know that you can embrace and you can actually help these children to be all who they can be.
Excellent. Well, guys, you heard it here. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. at the library. Which one of the venues in the library is that?
It's the main auditorium.
The main auditorium. So that's the main auditorium at the Scarborough Library. You have the Special Needs Education Forum. It's called Inclusion, Not Inclusion. And this is open, Not Exclusion, sorry. And that is open to all Tobagonians, especially persons who are interested in special needs education, parents, you name it, just come out and support. You never know what you would be able to do with that information that may be gathered from this seminar. So again, Amryl, thank you so much for joining us here today. And thank you for giving back to Tobago. Thank you for taking the time to come home and give back. Guys, that's all we have for this conversation for you this morning. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back right after this.
The energy filled the sky.